Lights went on. Okay? And those funny little things on his car just started telling you need to go over the side of the road. No. You didn't have this thought. He's just going to go right on past it. You got to train yourself to police your thoughts and your emotions, because if you have a thought, guess what? Emotion is the power behind the thought that makes it manifest. So, when you don't make any negative thoughts, and you don't put any emotion with those negative thoughts, then you're not nearly so dangerous to yourself or anybody around you. Especially if you make some of this stuff. That's why we don't print these things, and it will start to change you. Everyone in here is probably feeling the effects of that homeopathic a little bit now. How many people are feeling it? Okay, we've got majority of the hands showing. That homeopathic making you feel a little happy? A little relaxed? Like it? Pretty comfortable? Okay. Processors are designed to go way beyond that in their ability to alter your basic emotional state. Why? Because if you're in a negative emotional state, you're low vibration, you're going to hurt yourself and those around you. You're not going to go very far in a negative emotional state up that spiritual evolution ladder. I designed these machines initially for myself. I had two things. I had really banged up, damaged this body. I had dropped it off cliffs, had it run over by cars and other things. It wasn't too pleasant of a place to be anymore. Anybody got an idea what I'm talking about? When those aches and pains get a little bit too much. So I needed a whole lot of healing and a whole lot of restoration that I hadn't been able to accomplish through any other means. And I didn't want to continue aging. I was fighting a battle with gray hair, and I was losing. I was pulling about 5 and 10 at a time. This was 5 years ago. I don't dye my hair. Okay? And I didn't like that battle I was losing with my gray hair. Probably nobody in this room likes that battle you're losing. Well, I also knew this. I needed to keep myself in positive frame. That's why we changed this. For most people, the product out of this, these processors, will help you. You gotta realize, you do the work, you do the actual job. But it will help you to go further and faster up that spiritual growth scale and up your spiritual evolution than anything else I can think of. Okay? I've been in the presence of various different masters at different times, various different teachers, we'll call them, because we're all just teachers of each other. They can be great for boosts, but you need something that's day in, day out. And guess what? You drink water, don't you? If you can get a little boost with every glass of water, they can make that spiritual path just a little easier. Okay? That's the reason. Now, we've also done something a little small. They're sitting on every continent, almost every country in the world. We've been selling them for 3.5 years. I should say giving them away. You know why? Because they carry a fair market value. They've been appraised at double what we're selling them for. Okay? So I'm saying I'm giving them away. I'm giving you half of it. Okay? And I prefer that term to selling because I don't like selling. And I really don't like the monetary system. I don't like the corporate structures and everything that we have to play, but we got to do that. But there's 0 point power. The primary energy device, the charging apparatus, is 0 point power. Okay? All concentration capabilities are 0 point power, wear on about 8,000 years. Okay? Nobody put 0 point power devices out there in the world. They all tried to get big funding to build big factories. I did it. Hand them out one time after another. Buy enough parts after we sell one to build another one or two. And get them out there. So we've got them out there. Into the world. They're everywhere. They're not overly complicated. If somebody had a brain, use a little common sense, they could duplicate the units. Okay, there's a couple parts they might have a little fun with trying to figure out. But the technology cannot leave the realm anymore. we went out of business tomorrow, somebody would decide to start manufacturing it. And I didn't put a patent on them either. That way they're not locked up in legal things. My point of these things is not to make money. It's to change this world. Okay? Make it a better place. Give people the tools that they need. And let's change the course of this planet, because I don't like the direction it's going. Anybody in here like the direction it's going? I'm doing this. Okay? So you understand. Now, if anybody has questions about Orme, questions about the processors, I will answer it. If I can't answer it, I'll get back to you with an answer later. Okay? If it's an off-the-wall question that I don't have, I'll try and get that answer for you. But so far, nobody stumped me on an answer for Orme, because I did 2-day much research. I went around and I asked every question I could, everybody that I could find, including government scientists that work with this stuff. And knowledge went in here, and I went back in the laboratory to prove it or disprove it. Okay. And so I took most of the fallacies out. On the Miraculewater.com website, there is a page that describes Orme. It tells you an awful lot about it. Just so that this knowledge is not lost, and there's enough people in this group that have a little bit of knowledge about physics and they'll understand what I'm going to say. I'm going to lose a whole bunch of other people. Okay? But understand that I know I'm going to lose you on this little bitty small thing. But I want this piece of knowledge to stay somewhere where it can be used in the future. David Hudson thought that Orme was monoatomic. Let's take and draw ourselves a great big gold atom right there. You know, they've been trying to teach us that we got electrons whirling around the atoms. No, sorry, they're not little balls whirling around. They're much closer to an electron shell. The old model of the atom they've been trying to teach everybody for the last 100 years or 50 years, whatever we call it, Bohr model of the atom. It's off a little bit. But we're going to simplify this diagram a little bit. We're going to say that we have electron shells, and we're only going to draw a couple of them, okay? And we can get this thing stopped. Say our nucleus is inside here, and the shells, electrons around there. Gold is a little unique. You can say that it has 3 openings, 3 hands, whatever, it can hold 3 other atoms. There's a variety of different ways to think of it. But the thing is, those places where it can hold on, they're outer and the next shell in. Okay? And guess what? There's a little thing called hydrogen. Smallest atom out there, everything tells us, right? This thing called heavy hydrogen is just one of the isotopes of hydrogen. They call it deuterium. I think it ought to be called a total separate element. Okay? And I'm getting a couple of nods because some people know a few things about deuterium besides just me. Guess what? Deuterium bonds on the inner shell. Consequently, things elongate a little bit. It looks like a single atom. And then try and look at it under an electron microscope. If you ever looked underneath an electron microscope, it's real hard to tell what you're looking at. It's mostly guesswork. Guess what? It's a diatom setup. That's what David Hudson thought was monatomic Orme. That was one of the best science we could get them about 25 years back. We now know a little bit differently. There's a couple things that are real easy. You can take the atomic radius of a metal ion. Metal ion is going to be a single atom, according to scientific definition. Same thing that Hudson was saying, single atom. Except he's saying that they're orbitally rearranged. Guess what? The metal ion and the atomic radius of the atom are not the same diameter. Why? Anybody have an idea of why? No. All those metal ions, they got an extra rider inside there, pushing it a little bit. Okay? They're called Orme. There's 2 forms of metal ions, superconducting and non-superconducting. Okay? So you get a little education. Iridium and rhodium, loaded in your DNA all over the place. So is copper. Radium, the preferred neurotransmitter used by the nerve cells. Rhodium, second choice. Well, they use copper too, if it has to. But iridium works best. Okay? You know what happens when you change? There's iridium on one end, there's a rhodium on the other end of DNA. Let's change that rhodium off and put gold on there. The DNA normally conducts about 100 electrons a second. Okay? 100 is not a huge amount of electrons, but DNA is about a yard long, about 3 feet. When you stretch it all the way out, otherwise it's coiled up. But in normal form, it's about 100. Put gold on there, I don't know, it probably goes up a few more zeros. If you put gold on both ends, it goes up quite a few zeros. The big one that they tried was ruthenium. Over 1 million electrons a second traveling up and down the DNA. Any idea where our ideas transmit back and forth between our spiritual body, where these thoughts and things are stored? They're not stored in chemical reactions inside of a cell. Come on. Okay. We change and lose all the cells in our body in a matter of a few months, right? Stored on the other side, another dimension, in our spiritual self. Guess what transmits that back and forth? DNA. Got any idea how much faster you start to think when you start consuming gold? Things that'll puzzle one person. They seem like common sense to you. Okay? No, you're probably not going to get to ruthenium in this lifetime, but you can sure try. Okay? There's a few other in between. But the big key is here, you can get the superconducting out of these things. If there's any gold whatsoever in water, it will concentrate. There's usually gold in most waters. Okay? It'll vary from location to location. You may take a portable processor, take it over to your neighbor's house that has a well somewhere, and it may make some stuff that just really kicks you in the seat of the pants. Okay? You take it somewhere else and it makes something that's not quite as good as kicking you in the seat of the pants, but all of a sudden it has tremendous health aspects. That's because it has different hormone ratios in it. Okay? Probably everybody in this room is interested in the spiritual side. I know most people are interested in the health side also. Well, these hormones will do an awful lot of things. All you got to do is clear your thoughts out, make your brain work right. Okay? Requires a little bit of self-discipline, a little minor self-discipline, we'll call it. In other words, stop thinking all these negative things that you've been thinking about. I was born semi-telepathic and semi-empathic. I had to learn how to deal with this. Most people don't have wonderful thoughts, they don't have wonderful emotions. The average person is very miserable. But you can be very happy. And you can stay in that state 24/7. You'll occasionally drop out of it. Because you know what? We need opposites so that we realize where we're at and so we can appreciate good things. Okay? So, what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to open things up to questions, and then I'm going to show you a few other products. I'm going to talk about a few other things. Who's got the first question? I'm going for this man because I know he's going to give me a technical question and I may answer 3 or 4 others. Go ahead.
I'm thrilled to hear how efficient the filtration system is. But would that also filter out the minerals? And the other part of the question is, if that is so...
Takes out everything except the ornament.
Okay.
Yes, your minerals come out too, because you know what? Fluoride's considered a mineral. Anybody in here know that it's more toxic than lead? I had to go down to atomic radius sizes and figure out how to push ormate through a filter that nothing else could get through except water. Okay?
So the other part of the question is, as you've said, it does filter out the minerals, but if you ingest mineral-free water, surely that water would deplete your body of minerals, as distilled water does.
Yes. But we decided to take that into consideration, and we decided to find a solution for it. Okay? Solution is a little tiny guy that's sitting right here. It's called an infinity synthesizer. Well, we teamed up with some other scientists. These other scientists had found that if they ran two lasers together and they encoded for information on those lasers, at the point where those two laser beams met, they created a longitudinal wave, a standing wave. Instead of a wave going sideways, it goes up and down. Okay? It's also known as a scalar wave. Just another name for scalar wave, longitudinal wave, a bunch of different names throughout history from if we looked hard enough. Okay? On that, we encoded about 12.5 million messages. They happen to include every single element in exactly the correct isotope that the human body needs. By having a longitudinal wave, guess what? It's like a menu for the body. It gets to pick and choose what it wants and ignore the rest. It's the ultimate in homeopathics. Included in there is iridium and rhodium, ormane, gold, even iridium and M-state, because it's valuable in M-state form. Okay? Rhodium is also valuable in M-state form, which is different in the ormane form. But we included a lot of information there. I'm sorry, I don't have time to tell you 12.5 million messages. Some of them are frequencies that were found beneficial for people that had various different, we'll call it health conditions, okay, or health challenges. But 12.5 million messages takes care of the mineral thing. Your body manufacturing. Now I'm going to tell everybody a secret. This is a really well-kept secret. I can find hints that people knew about this 400 or 500 years ago. Okay? And obviously somebody's been knowing about it for a long time because they've been making homeopathic remedies. You know, homeopathic remedy just carries a frequency. What makes it work? Does anybody in here know what makes it work, other than people I've told? I'm going to tell you what makes it work. When you have the frequency, the memory of something in water, doesn't matter what else is there, but if you have the memory, and you run DC current, electricity, DC, flowing one direction through that water, guess what? It pulls it from the other side and manifests right there, in that water. I can literally take a jar of water and write a memory in it and run electrical current through it and manifest what I want to in that jar. Okay? Same thing your body does with a homeopathic remedy. That's how they work. That's called the power of creation. Anybody bother to watch or look, they find out that the Earth is getting a little bigger each and every day. It gets a little bigger around in diameter. Okay? Guess what? The power of creation is a lot easier than the power of destruction or uncreation. Okay? And uncreation laws are a little more complicated and they're a little more tricky. You don't want to play with them most of the time. But Mother Nature does creation all over the place. Your bodies do creation all over the place. Trees, plants, they do it too. Okay? That's how homeopathic works. And that's part of the mineral equation that you are interested in. Next question.
The next question is, how do you tap into the zero-point energy field?
Well, the easiest way to do that, most of the time, is with magnets. Okay? Now, there's a little funny thing about a magnet. I'm going to draw one here for just a second. And let's say this.
Do you have another color magic marker for stones? Do you have another color marker that one doesn't show?
This is orange. I don't know what. Do we have a black one anywhere, anybody? I'm going to try this pink and we'll see how that works. Okay? This is rather simple and you can probably hear half of what I'm saying if you miss it from there. But let's say we have a magnet here. And on this end, we're going to label it north and we're going to label it south here. By the way, if you look around magnet manufacturers, you'll find that they all have things one way or the other. But nobody's labeling them correctly, consistently, we'll say. Nobody's ever been able to get together on that. Okay? Some magnets will come labeled south on the face that will be north on a different manufacturer. Okay? But if we set this end here and this end there, where the north and the south faces, okay, it's a really unusual thing. Out of one end, we have what we're going to call virtual particles. Virtual because they're a little hard to see, a little hard to measure, but we know that they're. Okay? And they're flowing out. Guess what's happening on the other end? They're flowing in. That's the simplest free energy source that you'll find on this planet, because it's running continuously, blowing out this end. Women, what could you do with a vacuum cleaner that required no electricity, just went around and sucked everything up? Guys, if you had a yard blower that blew, but you didn't have to start the engine up, that's what a magnet is. One end sucks, one end blows. Rather simple in a way. Most people miss it. Consequently, there's these different water trap machines. Nobody could ever tell anybody what direction to point the magnets. They didn't understand the first simple thing about magnets, that one end sucks and the other end blows. Okay? I did. I understood that. And I refined the procedures. That's why these hit like really high percentages in efficiency, where the previous designs that I've seen, tested others, some didn't work at all. Okay? There's another thing. You can erase the memory of water. 2 ways. Works really good. One is with a magnet, and works pretty doggone good. The other one is distillation. You turn it into a gas, turn it back into water again, it loses its memory. Anybody ever wonder what contained the memory in the water? I'll tell you what one scientist told me about 5 years ago. One used a tape recorder. Once the magnetic field's charged up, you can record anything you want to it. Wow, that's pretty neat. Started thinking about it. He was right. Okay. So that's what carries the memory in the water. The water is a liquid crystal. Most people don't give it any credit for what it's capable of. Is there anybody in here whose body is filled with something other than water?
Maybe some wine.
Coffee.
What do you got in yours?
Coffee.
Coffee? No, sorry, coffee's mostly water. But here's the funny thing. Our bodies are about 75% water. Basically, we're a mud puddle walking around. Okay? Some random elements thrown in there. What is water capable of? All the way up to life. Sustaining, inhabiting life. Like we are right here. You ever want to think water is real simple and just plain old H2O ever again? It's right in front of your eyes. It's right in your body. It's amazing. It's a liquid crystal that can carry life. Okay? So, don't think water is just simple H2O anymore. All the scientists out there, they've been trying to tell each other in the Western world for a long time that water was basically water until people like Miraculewater, they showed all the nice water crystals, said, guess what? You guys want to ignore all the scientific data and everything else? Here, I'll show you pictures, because you're not smart enough to understand anything else. When I talked to Emoto, he battled with himself for years and years and years. He had a nightmare. Night after night after night, we'd come to him. He finally figured out the nightmare. But it was his mission to put out the information on the planet that he put out about water crystals and the memory of water. Okay? And guess what? When he did that, when he published the books and he started holding the lectures and the seminars and going around, the nightmares stopped that he'd been having for his entire life since he was a little kid. Okay? That's his mission, to tell people and explain. His latest book was written expressly for the United States. It's called The Power of Water. The True Power of Water. Okay? You know why he wrote it that way and why he called it that? Because he tells about healing techniques they developed and that are used in a lot of places with water and frequencies. Okay? And he tells about real life cases where people have come to his office and had serious problems that the medical establishment couldn't deal with. And he has programmed water to deal with their problem. Okay? Water is probably the most versatile thing we have on this planet other than a human being. Okay? So, stop thinking it's simple H2O. It helps if it doesn't have a bunch of nasty contaminants for our body to deal with, right? Nobody wants to have garbage in there. And it helps if it has the things that we need the most. Okay? We add magnesium dioxide to the water. The magnesium dioxide serves a couple of purposes. It acts as a heavy metals filter. Anything that's not superconducting orby that makes it through the unit and hits that stage, if it's metal, it gets grabbed and latched onto, and ozone is released into the water. Okay. Anybody object to a little extra oxygen in the water? It alters the pH on litmus paper. If you test the product water and you've got heavy metals in your source water, then if you use litmus paper, it'll register as acidic until the ozone comes out. Okay? After that, it'll go back up to the pH of magnesium because that's what we put in there. The pH of magnesium is alkaline. Magnesium is also the only element that has been so extensively documented by scientists around the world that the human body can transmutate magnesium into other elements that it needs. So it's a great building block. And they figured out about 99% of the world population was deficient in magnesium. So we found what was pretty close to a magic solution for a heavy metals filter, is it releases ozone and magnesium dioxide slowly into the water. Okay? It keeps the water, among other things, from being what we'll call hungry water, where it wants to dissolve anything, because it gets a chance to dissolve that. And no large chunks of it can make any water through, because the next filter is rated at 0.5 microns afterwards, so you can't get a big chunk of it through. You can only get small atom clusters through that your body can use. Because guess what? You've got, what is there, some quadrillion of atoms in this marker. When you eat food, your body has to break it down, take it and tear it apart. Anybody here ever worked construction? You have. I have a question for you. If I gave you a house with parts, and you need to make some repairs over here to this other house, what would you have to do? If you got this house over here, it's all put together, parts. You have to go over there and tear a wall apart. So you need a 2x4, a few nails, and a 1x6. You're going to have to tear some shit apart to get at it. Go over here and put it in place in your house. Feels like a lot of work to me. It'd be a whole lot better if I gave you the ability to manifest the elements you needed over here, 2x4.